Hi everyone, and welcome to our CPD for careers leaders, enterprise advisors and enterprise coordinators. It's so lovely to see so many of you here today. So we're going to be going over how to use Inspiring the Future to create your meaningful virtual encounters, hearing about virtual activities other schools have delivered, and going over how you can actually do this on the Inspiring the Future portal. If we can go to the next slide, please, Simon. So I'm Lara. I might have come across quite a lot of you before, and I'm the Senior Schools Engagement Coordinator for secondary schools and colleges. So my role is to support school staff, including careers leaders, to use Inspiring the Future to organise and deliver your employer engagement activities. And I'm also joined by my colleague Katie. Katie, do you want to say a quick hello?
Hi everyone, I'm Katie. I'm the Director of Operations and Programmes here at the charity, so supporting Laura. Great to have you here. Thanks as well for taking time out of very busy schedules, I'm sure.
Thanks, Katie. So before we get started, and just while we're waiting for a few more people to trickle in, I'd love it if you could introduce yourself on the chat by sharing your name and where your school is and what inspired you to work with young people, and I'll read some of those out. So to anyone who's just joined us, we're just sharing on the chat your name and where your school is and what inspired you to work with young people, and we'll start the CPD very shortly. So we've got Caroline. Hi, Caroline. Hi, Robert. Hi, Judah. Judah from Leeds West Academy. And Judah said, wanting to make a difference. Thank you for sharing that, Judah. Carol from St. Joseph's Specialist Trust. Hi, Carol. Hi, Jemima.
I've seen one that said, because young people are always fun. I love that.
Thank you for that, Fiona. Sarah as well, wanting to make a difference. Hi, Sarah. Dan from Richard upon Thames School. Maxine Clark, Our Ladies in Hackney, wanted to dispel misconceptions around creative careers. Oh, that's really interesting. Thank you, Maxine. Sarah Cross from Wilberforce College in Hull. Grace, hi Grace, your careers leader at St. Ignatius College. Mandy, hi Mandy. There's lots of comments coming in now. It's great to see so many of you joining us. Okay, lovely. Thank you very much for sharing in the chat, and you're welcome to use the chat as much as you want as we go through this CPD session. So I'm just going to launch a couple of polls now, and it'd be really, really great to get your thoughts. So Simon, if we could share those polls. So it'd be great to know where you're at in your Inspiring the Future journey and understand a little bit more about the challenges you face with organising virtual encounters. Can everyone see those polls okay? Yes, great, thank you.
It's so interesting from our side because we see the poll results going up and down across the different ones. It's great to have a real mix of people here.
You might have to read those out, Katie, because I can't actually see them.
That's absolutely fine. Okay, so our first question was, have you used or supported a school to use Inspiring the Future before for employee engagement? Our options were yes, only a virtual session, so probably over the last year. Yes, only face-to-face encounters, so before the pandemic, back in those days. Yes, for both face-to-face and virtual. No, but you might have used other providers, and never. So most people on this call are in either the never category or no, but potentially use some other providers. Some of you have done both, so amazing to have you here. Please contribute as well. And some have done face-to-face before the end pandemic. Not very many of you just have done a virtual session. Brilliant to have you here. So that's the first question. The second question was, what are the main barriers for you, schools that you work with, when you're organising virtual employer encounters? So confidence with the technology. 13% of you are saying that's what it is. Time due to other priorities is the biggest answer here. So 37% of you with that. Some of you have safeguarding concerns, or there's been safeguarding concerns as barriers, and some, kind of concerns around the technology. So hopefully we can address all those different areas today. We know that time is a big factor at the moment, and we're here to support you however we can with that. I think if we end the polling now. Brilliant, thank you.
Great, thank you. Let's go to the next slide, please. So just before we begin, I just wanted to go over some ground rules for the session. So please mute your microphone when you're not speaking to just eliminate any background noise. I'm sure you will anyway, but refrain from using any inappropriate language and ensure you have an appropriate background on display if you are showing your camera. And we're going to have time for some discussions in the breakout rooms during the CPD, but you are welcome to use the chat as we go. And please refrain from taking any photos or screenshots of the session. We are going to be recording it and sharing afterwards, so do turn your camera off if you don't want to be seen, and I will share that recording via email tomorrow. Next slide, please. So what are the aims of the CPD today? So to equip school staff with the tools and confidence to use Inspiring the Future to plan and deliver meaningful virtual encounters, and this can be for students either at home or at school. To understand how best to connect with the huge breadth of virtual volunteers on the portal, and we will go on to talk a bit more about the volunteers that are available, but there are over 9,000 virtual volunteers on the portal from a range of different industries and sectors, which is really exciting. And the final aim is to share virtual careers provision ideas with one another. So we really, really want to hear your ideas, and we'll be sharing some other activities that other schools have done as well. Next slide, please. So what's the format going to be today? So we're going to start with a brief overview of what Inspiring the Future is and what virtual encounters are. And we're going to go into meeting Gatsby benchmarks and how to make your virtual encounters meaningful. We're going to go over some technology and safeguarding points. We're going to look at what other schools are doing, so you can get some ideas for what you might want to do in your school. I'm going to do a demo of using the portal. So we're going to go over where the resources are that you can access, how to create your opportunity, how to search for volunteers, and how to communicate with them in the run-up to your virtual activity, next steps and top tips. And then we're going to go into some breakout rooms and do some action planning before coming back for some Q&A. So quite an action-packed session. Yeah, it'd be great to get started. So Katie, I'm going to hand over to you now to talk us through virtual encounters.
Hi everybody, thanks so much, Lara. Okay, so I know some of you do know Inspiring the Future and potentially have used it before, but just so that everybody's on a level playing field. So Education and Employers is a UK charity. We were set up in 2009 and we do two things. We have research into the impact of employer engagement in education, and you'll probably have seen some of this quoted stats on that. So if young people can recall 4 or more encounters with the world of work while they're at education, are less likely to end up neat. So that was something that came from our charity initially, and we have a lot more research out there. That's all freely available on Education and Employers on our website. We then also run programs. So Inspiring the Future is the flagship program. And what it is, if you aren't yet registered, this is an online portal where you register against the school that you work with. So if you're an enterprise advisor, enterprise coordinator, please do get your school's careers leaders or teachers to register, and you can support them in doing so. But this has been made free for state schools and colleges. And then once you're on that, then you can search the database of volunteers and invite them into our career-related learning activities. And that's then down to you in terms of what you want to do. But I'm also going to talk a bit about what we've done through this pandemic and the help that we can provide and facilitation that we can provide on that. So previously, pre-pandemic, you would have gone on there and you'd be looking at a geography around your school, so who would be able to physically come and visit. And that meant that sometimes there was a little bit of a mismatch on supply and demand for different areas of the country. As you can imagine, there were some rural areas and different areas of the country where we didn't quite have enough volunteers and more schools. And then places like London, major urban areas where we might have a ton of volunteers and not enough schools putting activities on there. So that's now all changed because it's all virtual. And that means it's fantastic from a careers leader and school side. So over last summer, we actually worked with schools and colleges and with our volunteers to say, how do we translate this into virtual interactive activities? Lots of people have obviously done this, but I think we've done so in a way that means it's really easy to access for you. And as I said, it now means you have access to the full database. As Lara said, there's over 9,000 volunteers on there who have proactively said, yes, I'd like to get involved in virtual activities. You can see on screen some of them. We market to volunteers through a number of different routes, hence why we have this kind of range. And I think that's the USP from us. It is that diversity of volunteers that are available for you. So we have corporate. So for instance, we've just done something with ITV. So there's been a little flurry of registrations from ITV staff, which is fascinating to see. And we also have major sector campaigns. So we've been working with NHS. There's a lot of people on there from the healthcare sector, some of which are on the screen as well at the moment. We work with Bank of America, so lots in legal, finance, STEM subjects. And then there's just a lot of people come to us through word of mouth. So you will get people that are freelancers, self-employed, etc. And later in the year, we're going to be doing something with like Royal Horticultural Society. So that breadth is there. And Laura will be able to show you a little bit of that when she shows you the demo of the system. You can filter down by particular subjects and sectors, and Laura will show you that, because sometimes 9,000 can feel a little bit overwhelming. But the great news is that you'll find what you need, and that's all there. Next slide, please, Simon. So in terms of those virtual encounters, as I said, this is down to the school to think about how you want to use this for your year groups. However, this has been what we've done recently and how it's worked for us. So virtual encounters will allow you access to that full range of volunteers. It has been designed so that students can be accessing it from home or in the classroom or simultaneously as well. Obviously, that does depend on technology being available. And so you can ask volunteers to pre-record information and careers talks, and you can look to record sessions as well with their permission, so you can show them to students who might not have had access to the technology at the time. We know that is a potential barrier. Normally, when we've done this, we've done sessions that last up to an hour maximum. So 45 minutes to an hour seems to work quite well in terms of engagement. And volunteers will broadcast with their camera and audio on. We've seen it work well either with individual volunteers or potentially with panels of up to maybe 4 volunteers, maybe 5 within that hour slot, where they then would talk a little bit about their career journey. Potentially they'd pick up on particular subjects or topics that you wanted them to. And then there would be a Q&A with students. That Q&A has been the bit where we've seen really great engagement for students. When they were in the classrooms last term, they often had the video on for the students, and they'd be able to either shout out if the audio worked or come to the front to ask questions. At the moment with home learning, the best thing we've seen is having videos and audio off, and then using the chat functionality just as you are now in order to ask questions. You do need therefore somebody to be facilitating that chat functionality, and that's something that we've been doing for schools as well over the last year. I think you probably know these last bits, but you know, the motivation for young people, being inspired, thinking about why their subjects matter, particularly with exams being cancelled, is why this is so important. And I think the range of our volunteers really help with that. I'm now going to hand over to a video of a teacher talking about what she did. It's a little bit different actually from what I've just been discussing, but it's a really great way of showing what's happened with this system. So Simon, if you can just play that video. Simon, you don't see, he's in the background doing our tech for us at the moment.
Hi, I'm Sally Ann. I am the Employer Engagement Manager at Eckington School. We are based just on the border in Derbyshire, but on the border with South Yorkshire as well. Using the website Inspiring the Future has just been phenomenal for me. Last year we set a programme in our sixth form with our year 12s where we find them a mentor, somebody who is already doing their dream job or working in their dream industry. And it's my job to find that person, that mentor. And last year we did all the meetings face to face in school. You know, we thought that worked really well, and you know, it was good. But this year, using the Inspiring the Future website, I've been able to reach out to people much further afield because we're doing the meetings virtually. And we've had some phenomenal mentors that we just wouldn't have been able to connect with because of geography, really. For example, one of our year 12s, her dream has always been and still is to become a midwife. So using the Inspiring the Future website, I've been able to set up a virtual meeting with a Band 7 midwife who is based down in London. but it didn't matter because it didn't matter about the geography, it's about the role and about the person. And the student walked away from that meeting and she said, Miss, that was amazing. I've just thought about a different entry, different pathways into midwifery. She's thinking about maybe training to be a nurse first, and she hadn't really thought about that aspect of it. What I like about the website is that I was able to post my activity in a kind of general, everybody can see it, but then also able to go through and select volunteers that I knew would be great matches for our students. And it's quite exciting when then one of those mentors would accept. I'm like, yes, I've got a neonatal nurse. That's brilliant. So yeah, it's fantastic. It's really allowed me to properly match the students with somebody. Don't be afraid of the technology. It's very simple, and like with anything, the more you use it, the more familiar it becomes and the more straightforward. Yeah, it's a bit nerve-wracking at first, but actually it's brilliant. All of the mentors I've engaged with so far are so passionate about helping young people. Just the fact that they're having the conversation with them is uplifting and inspiring to the students. It's they're all obviously connected with the website because they want to get involved, and it's lovely. It's so refreshing. Their enthusiasm it's infectious. It's fantastic.
I'm going to avoid the you're on mute. I did it just before anybody could catch. Sorry about that. Thank you, Simon, and thanks very much to Sally Ann for that. As I said, it's a little bit different what she did, but the key thing was that she was able to access a really long range of volunteers through the website. I would say that with mentoring, you need to have your own program within school, so we don't provide like a bespoke mentoring program. So they had a program in school, and we were just providing that matching with volunteers. And Sally Ann was there for all virtual sessions. That's how they did it from a safeguarding perspective. Simon, if you just moved on one, please. So the range of activities you can do cover lots of different Gatsby benchmarks, but today we're focusing on Gatsby benchmark 5. The session that we've got next week on February 3rd will cover more on different Gatsby benchmarks, which is, give you a bit more detail on that. The Gatsby benchmark 5, where you've seen that, need to make it meaningful by clearly defined outcomes. So this is where you really have to think about kind of what's going to work for your students, whether it is broadening and it's just inspiring, and that's what you want them to bring out in terms of the volunteers and their conversations. Two-way interaction. So as I said, mostly this has been through either chat functionality or Q&A, even if it is pre-recorded, and some people have used the pre-recorded sessions on this, thinking about kind of the post activities, reflective exercises that they can do, or exercises where they can be pausing videos throughout and have a think about what that means. And evidence of student actively participating in activity. So whether that's just recording who's participated in it through using one of the platforms, or also doing post-activity reflective exercises. Next slide, please, Simon. Okay, so just in terms of the technology, schools can use the technology that most works for you. So you'll be all more used to using different online platforms now. Where we've facilitated it, we've either facilitated it on Zoom, as we are now, MS Teams, we've also used GoToWebinar, which is a paid-for webinar package, but Google Hangouts and Classrooms have also been used. We do have a guide on the portal about which tech platforms give what functionality, and that's a really helpful one if you have a range that you can use. One thing to be aware of, some volunteers, their work laptops might have firewalls that prevent them using particular platforms, so do check with volunteers beforehand, and Lara will come on to some top tips later. And safeguarding, when people were talking about safeguarding, we have a checklist on the portal. You'll have your own from school, and obviously that will be really important, but there's some things that we've learned along the way that can be also helpful too. Next slide, please, Simon. Okay, so this is just a little bit in terms of what other schools are doing. So these are some things that are on the system. So St. Mary Magdalene Academy, they actually did some short pre-recorded sessions. So this is, as I said, where they wanted it to slot into different parts of the timetable and where they weren't able to get kind of all students together at once. There was a full brief that the teacher provided on this, and they managed to connect with a self-employed barrister working in international law and a freelance producer for a radio station, amongst others for that. Bournemouth and Poole College have got a talk coming up that's sector specific, and so they really wanted people from design and media to speak about to speak to their students who are currently studying design and media as well. They have managed to get, I'm just reading from this slide on who they've managed to get, basically an operations manager at the BBC, a video editor at Lego, and somebody who works at Disney. So again, real range of different people on there. And I think a question has just come in actually about SEND, but Sheaf Training is a post-16 SEND college in the Sheffield region, and they're looking at a week of activities with a short session, one each day, and a couple of volunteers at least to do some kind of panel Q&A each day. If you have got something that's a little bit different, or if you are concerned or want to reach out because you'd like a bit more support, then please do contact us. There will be other schools across the country doing something similar. We'll be able to either give you advice from that or connect. Okay, over to Laura.
Great, thanks, Katie. So I'm just going to share my screen now and we're going to go through using the portal. So can we see that okay? Great. Okay, so this is what this is my teacher test account, but this is what your portal homepage will look like. So if you don't already have an Inspiring the Future account, you can go to the website, and it just takes a few minutes to sign up. So I just wanted to highlight a few things. So first of all, where the resources are. So Katie mentioned the safeguarding checklist and the tech platform guide. So they're under resources. So you can just go and click resources here, and you can see here the tech platform guide, the safeguarding checklist. There's also a career chats step-by-step guide, which might be really useful as like a first activity to plan. So you can see here that that's just a 2-page document, and it goes through a simple Q&A career insights activity that you might do. So the steps you might take before your activity, on the day and after the activity to reflect on it as well. So it might be worth exploring those virtual resources there. So in terms of creating your activity, anything to do with creating your virtual event, you would go to Manage Opportunities. So we're going to go to Manage Opportunities here, and you can see here a list of previous virtual encounters that I've created, as well as some face-to-face on the next page as well. And if you're going to create a new opportunity, you would click Create New, and then you can see lots of blank fields here that you would fill in. So I'm just going to show you one that I made earlier. So you would come to this having an idea of the students you want to target, the volunteers that you require for your activity, the format, the tech platform that you'd want to use, and then you can simply just fill in the details so that volunteers will know exactly what is expected of them before the activity. So I'll just make this a little bit bigger so everyone can see. So this opportunity name, I've put, it's a media career talks at Test School. So you might want to say what it is and the name of your school in that section. I just want one volunteer, and it's a virtual event, so I've ticked virtual. It's a career insights event as opposed to mock interviews or mentoring, and number of opportunity volunteers are required for. I've put 1 because I just want the volunteer to come to one-off activity. This activity is going to take place on the 1st of March, which is the first day of National Careers Week, and the start date and end date are the same because it's just happening across that one day rather than across the whole week. This, I haven't ticked public opportunity, but I would recommend doing that because that means that volunteers can proactively express interest as well as you inviting them. So you've got 2 avenues to source your volunteers. I've put the age range of the students that I'm targeting, so I'm looking for Year 11 students for this activity. There's also different sections that you can fill in here. So for example, you can be really specific about the industry that you want the volunteers from, curriculum subject links, if you want volunteers to talk about apprenticeships, took a vocational route, attended university. But you can also search for volunteers who have specialist knowledge. So for example, inclusion and diversity or gender, if they've selected that they can talk about those things when they've signed up. And I'm just going to highlight the description because I think this is probably the most important part of creating your virtual activity. So in here, you want to be really detailed so that you can engage the volunteers. They know what's expected of them, of the activity, what tech platform you're going to use, the timings, what they might need to prepare. So I put a general description. So as part of National Careers Week this year, we'd love you to attend this activity. I've said that it's going to be using Microsoft Teams. I've given a little bit of background on the aims of the session. So that's just kind of the general details, but if you wanted to go into more detail, then you absolutely could. So once you've created your activity, you can go to search for volunteers. So then you can see a map that will come up in your local area, and it will automatically assume you're searching for face-to-face volunteers. So if you are searching for virtual, just make sure that you tick virtual on the sidebar here. So I'm just going to tick virtual, and I just want to point out all the filters on the left-hand side. So if I'm looking for volunteers for a media studies specific activity, for example, I can use this filter section and click media, print and publishing and search for virtual volunteers and click search. So before I do that, you can navigate the map by clicking on the different icons, and you can also see the list view, which might be a little bit easier to see the volunteers. So let's search for virtual volunteers who are in the media, print and publishing sector. So you can see here a few different pages of volunteers, and like Katie mentioned, there are a few ITV volunteers on the system, which is really exciting. So let's just have a little look through. You can click view profile to read a little bit more about her. So if you think, great, you'd like to invite her to your activity, you can click add to shortlist, and then she will appear in your shortlist at the top. Another new feature that we've just added is that you can search by job title. So for example, say I want to look for a producer, I could click search there, and then you can just navigate through the pages to find a volunteer that you might find really interesting. And I'm just going to invite one of my colleagues, Simon, just to show you, oh, he's not a producer, just to show you how that would look in terms of sending your invites. And I can click review shortlist and invite. I can click invite volunteers. And then I just have to send an invite body message. So I've put, hi, I saw your profile and would love you to attend our virtual activity. Please get in touch. Thank you. And we can organize a test meeting from there. So I can click send. So just make sure that you proceed to invite all the way until it says success created invites. And then that means that you've sent your invitations. I'm aware that I've gone through that very quickly, and we've just created a how to use the portal video, and there are also resources on this as well if you do want to go back and look at that again. What I might do is go back to the presentation now. So if I can stop sharing my screen. Great, and just to point out from there that you can, once the volunteers start to respond to your invite, so they'll get an automated email to say that they've been invited, and once they click accept, then you can go in and message them on the portal. Next slide, please. So what are the steps for you from here in creating a virtual encounter? So the first step is, if you haven't already, is to create your Inspiring the Future account. Decide your activity aims, the students and volunteers that you want to target, and the format of your activity. Choose your preferred tech platform, create it on the portal and invite volunteers. So that's what we just went through together. Confirm the accepted volunteers, organise test meetings with them and share the meeting link with them before the activity. Prepare your students and deliver your activity, and then collect feedback and plan your next activity. And there are resources to support you every step of the way. And we're also here if you want to give us a ring or send us an email for any help or support. Next slide, please. I just wanted to highlight a few top tips. There's also a top tips resource on the portal with a bit more detail, but I think these are some of the main ones that might be helpful. So I think the first one is to start creating your opportunity in plenty of time. So I'd allow at least a month before the actual day. Make your description really engaging and detailed. So that's something that we went through together, but there are template activity descriptions as well in one of the guides. Invite more volunteers than what you require. So I'd recommend inviting maybe 4 times more than what you require initially, and then see how you get on. Ensure your session is timetabled. I appreciate that it can be quite difficult at the moment. And in terms of logistics in school, ensure that supporting staff and the students are briefed, and host a test meeting with the volunteers and make sure you fully brief them on the kinds of things you might want them to share. If anyone does have any additional tips, then please do comment in the chat. It'd be great to learn from your experiences. Next slide, please, Simon. Okay, so we're going to go into some breakout rooms now. So considering You might not be able to plan your full careers provision for the rest of the year, but we'd love you to discuss what's one feasible activity you or the school that you support could use Inspire in the future to organise. So considering the age of the students you want to target, timetabling, tech platform, volunteers required, what theme you might want to do, what subject links, the format. So we're going to go into breakout rooms now.
I think people are starting to come back in.
Yeah.
I hope that you were able to chat to different people in the breakout rooms. It's always quite difficult when you've got this many participants, but hopefully you were able to have a conversation or just a quick pause before the Q&A at the end now.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Yeah, hope you managed to chat to each other, and apologies if there was any logistical problems with the breakout rooms. Yeah, it'd be great to hear what you were discussing with each other. So does anyone want to pop anything into the chat? And we'll kind of merge this with a general Q&A as well. So if anyone does have any questions, please do pop them in and Katie and I will answer them for you.
Yeah. There was one thing that I did want to say. So Lara said, give plenty of time to schedule your session, and maybe a month. That is ideal. If you are going to have a session that happens within a 2-week period, or you've got less time to do it, that is fine. What you may have to do is invite more volunteers than you would have otherwise anticipated to do in terms of their availability, and make sure that you are kind of chasing up on volunteer acceptances and communicating with them. So we've seen it happen. We've done it ourselves where we've done it with a very limited time scale. So don't worry too much. You know, you just might have to do more invitations. I think where we are at the moment in terms of virtual means that you should still get people, because there are so many volunteers available in the system. And obviously you've got a real range in terms of employers. Some people are furloughed, some people are having to do home learning as well as do their jobs for children. So it's a real mix of people, but there should be people available.
Thanks, Jill. You said you're looking to set up your first virtual encounter during National Careers Week. And if you do have any questions or want any support with that, then just let us know. Angie, yep, you said could sessions be shorter, say 20 minutes. I think the great thing about Inspiring the Future is that you can just design your own sessions and communicate with the volunteers to however long you want them to be. So hopefully that can fit in with your timetable a lot more easily.
And yes, we know that the breakout sessions were quite short, just trying to keep this within the overall time. But we want to set up a bit of a community here, you know, for Inspiring the Future. So enable people to get that sharing of best practice, sharing of ideas. So we do want to do more webinar sessions like this, and we do want to ensure that you'll be able to communicate with each other. I know some people will be on different forums, Facebook forums, etc. together, but really great. Also good to see the National Careers Week stuff. That's something that we're gearing up to. So we've been, we're going to be talking to our volunteer side a bit more about the fact that they should be anticipating more activities during that week, and doing some promotion on that. So brilliant if that's something that you're looking to do. I guess there'll also be a question mark about whether schools are opening up in the middle of that and how that impacts, but virtual, so you can still do it either way, whether it's beaming into the classroom or beaming into students' homes.
Jemima, thanks for your question. You've asked, can I do a one-to-one demo of using the tech? Yeah, that's absolutely fine. We've got a video coming out as well soon of how to use the portal, but I'm more than happy to have a phone call or a Teams call with you to run through it with you in more detail, because I appreciate that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour.
Nice to see some of the examples coming through as well here in terms of what people are talking about, including some more slightly different type of topics such as the work experience. We are seeing that happen through the system again. This is a connector, so you should be able to get some different types of volunteers participating on that. And we will have some new guides as well in terms of some generic things to think about if you're going to be doing virtual work experience.
Joanna, thanks for sharing your ideas. So linking Creative Careers Week, film and lesson plans with bringing in volunteers for live interaction and meeting that Gatsby Benchmark 5. That sounds like a really fun week of activities. Thanks for sharing that. And if anyone does have any other questions, then please do send them through.
Yeah. One thing that I did want to address, because we sometimes get questions on this, so whether or not you can kind of organise, and I know we'll have some enterprise advisor, enterprise coordinators on here, organise an activity on behalf of a trust or a region. If you are looking to do that, just please get in contact with us. So we primarily have this, so it's like an individual school and you're connected to an individual school account, but we are looking at how we might support trusts within that. So virtual provides that opportunity because you can have multiple schools logging in at the same time. Safeguarding is something that you would need to have a look at, but we do some of that. So the best thing for that is just to get in touch with Lara directly, so that we can have a look at those kind of requests.
Thank you, Helen, for your comments. So you've said your students would struggle to engage live, but it'd be great to get a pre-recorded session, possibly getting the volunteer live for some quick Q&A. So yeah, that's something that you can definitely organise. And we do have an NHS pre-recorded session as well that might be useful to embed within that.
And Walter agreed, we're all tired, but really glad that this was okay despite all of that as well. You know, we're here to support, we know it's really tough, so get in contact if you need, it's there as a system. And I would say our volunteers are just, they're really engaging and wonderful, so please invite them in.
Yeah, please do send in any last minute questions, but thank you so much for for attending, giving up time out of your day and being so active in the chat. It's really useful to hear your plans, and any feedback we really do welcome. I think Simon's going to send a SurveyMonkey link very shortly. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Simon. So we'd be really grateful if you could fill that in. It will just take a couple of minutes. And as Katie mentioned earlier, we do have another CPD next week where we're going to go into alternative encounters and meeting the other benchmarks, which you're very welcome to attend, and I'll send the joining information in a follow-up email tomorrow. And if you would like to book a call with me or do like a demo with me or something, then I'm more than happy to do that. So please just get in touch. You should all have my email.
Great. Well, I think we give you back a couple of minutes. Thank you so much for attending, and we look forward to working with you. Okay, we'll close off the session now. Please do go and use the SurveyMonkey.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Have a good rest of the day.